Let's get it! 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Thursday. Greetings and salutations. Hope you're having an outstanding day, and thank you for spending the next 3 hours of it with us here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color, our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, our Facebook page, WIBW News. However, wherever, whenever you're checking out the show today, thanks for being part of the audience. We appreciate you being here. We're going to give you a good show. We got a jam-packed show these next 3 hours on 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. You will mostly be hearing from me today. Spencer Dupuis will drop by. You're going to hear from Brendan Wrzinski. More about that in a second. We got a lot of interviews. We got a lot of great stuff. We got a busy show. We got a busy day. We got busy 2 days here over in the 580 Sports team bullpen, if you will. We've got high school football tonight on these airwaves here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We've got ourselves some 580 Preps Thursday night football from Hummer Sports Park, the Highland Park Scots and the Atchison Phoenix. It has been the game of the year in the Meadowlark Conference each of the last 3 seasons. So far, to this point, it has been a mountain that Highland Park has been unable to summit. But the Phoenix are looking vulnerable at the top of the league for the first time since the league was formed, and Highland Park joined it 4 seasons ago. They're coming off of a lopsided loss to Kansas City, Washington last week. And, of course, Highland Park is trying to rewrite the story of their season after having had to forfeit each of the last 2 weeks, the fallout from the brawl that occurred in their Week 3 win against Kansas City Schlegel. So the Scots are back on the gridiron for the first time in 3 weeks and very eager to rewrite their story and very eager to take down Atchison, which they have not done. Atchison trying to right their own ship after a startling loss last week. Storylines abound for 580 Preps Thursday night football tonight. We'll have pregame coverage starting around 6:30, give or take. We'll do some 580 Sports Talk overtime, and that'll last however long it lasts. And then no later than 6:40, we're going to throw it out to. How's that for being exact? Like, this isn't a network thing. We don't have to say, all right, hard network in at 6:30, like the Royals or the Chiefs or whatever, or K-State. We can kind of do what we want. So how's that for exact? Between 6:30 and 6:40, pregame coverage of 580 Preps Thursday night football. Spencer Dupuis will have the play-by-play. Yours truly will be alongside in the broadcast booth. Kickoff set for 7 o'clock between the Scots and the Phoenix. We hope you will join us for some 580 Preps Thursday night football. Our game of the week tomorrow night, by the way, Seaman hosting Shawnee Heights. And we'll have more to say about both of these games with our guest, Rick Peterson of TopSports.news. He'll join us at the bottom of this 3 o'clock hour, as he does every Thursday for the local sports spotlight. So we're busy around here, but we've put together a show I think you'll enjoy today. We've got 4 interviews for you on today's program. I mentioned Rick Peterson, local sports spotlight. That's coming up bottom of this hour. It's a Thursday during the NFL season. That means we talk to Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs. He will join us, as he always does, at 5:25 on this Thursday, and we'll get his reaction to that Chiefs loss in Jacksonville and his outlook for Sunday night football as the Detroit Lions, who might be the hottest team in the NFL right now, come calling to Arrowhead Stadium. Chiefs trying to avoid a 2-4 start to this 2025 campaign. Mitch Holthus again at 5:25. We will also today hear from the men's and women's head basketball coaches at Washburn University. Brendan Wrzinski earlier this week caught up with both men's head coach Brett Ballard and women's head coach Lora Westling. This is the week that the MIAA released their preseason basketball media and coaches polls. Washburn, the consensus favorite to repeat as the MIAA regular season champs on the men's side. The media picked Washburn third in women's basketball. The coaches even more bullish, picking Lora Westling's squad to finish second in the league in the preseason poll. So we're going to hear from both of those head coaches. You'll hear from Brett Ballard this hour. Hear from him in about 15, 20 minutes or so. You'll hear from Lora Westling at about 5:40, 5:45 following Mitch Holthus. So Brett Ballard and Lora Westling will be on the program. That's where you'll hear our guy, Brendan Wrzinski, the voice of the Ichabods. He caught up with both Ichabod head basketball coaches, earlier this week. So we're chock full of guests today, naturally. We are going to talk some Chiefs football. Are you thinking shootout on Sunday? Because you're not alone if you are. If you're thinking that we're going to see another high-scoring game between Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes, you might be onto something. And we'll talk about why that is. Even though on paper, this stands to be the sternest test that the Chiefs offense has faced so far this season. And Lions are coming in limping, particularly at some important spots on defense. How good is the Lions offense is a question that you may be pondering. You've seen the big point totals, but they kind of been beaten up on some weaker teams and taken advantage of some field position with some of those big point totals. So we'll get into that here in just a little bit. Also, do you think the Chiefs are aggressive enough on offense? I think that's a complicated answer. We'll get into this in the 4 o'clock hour. Are the Chiefs aggressive enough? And how much is their level of aggressiveness in a game dictated by who it is that they're playing? Because going back to week 2, Andy Reid had a quote about going for it on 4th down. Week 2, going for it on 4th down. That I thought was really striking reading it back. And I think it informed a decision not to go for it on 4th down in Monday's game that they might have liked to redo on. So we'll talk about whether or not these Chiefs on offense are aggressive enough, particularly as they start to show some explosion on offense that we haven't seen from them for a couple of years. So plenty of Chiefs talk on the program today. I mentioned some great guests, including voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll also hear from Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy, the coordinators for the Chiefs, spoke today. And in the context of discussing Sunday's game, I thought it would be interesting to hear Steve Spagnuolo talk about the challenge of facing the Lions offense and Matt Nagy talk about aggressiveness from his offense. I can say it, and you can text it, and you can post it in the 580 Sports Talk comments, what you think, but it's always fascinating to get it right from the source, right? So we'll hear from the coordinators. That's coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll do What Is Wrong With You. We'll play a little bit of either or over under. We have our 580 Sports Talk headlines coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, including a playoff roundup. And as I mentioned, they're kind of brushed up against your interaction with the program today. Want to hear from you throughout. The text line is 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube stream. Again, the name of that channel is 580 Sports Talk. Jump on in. We'd love to hear from you today. Mark is in the chat. Look forward to hearing from the rest of you who filter in today and catch the show on 580 Sports Talk. And if you've never done it before, you never watched the live stream on YouTube, you don't subscribe to the YouTube channel, no day like today to start. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. One more matter of business before we get into the show proper today. We continue our fall cash contest here on 580 WIBW and 580WIBW.com. There's a contest button at the top of the web page that you can click, and every hour you enter a keyword. And if you enter the keyword and you enter info and your name is drawn, you could win $2,000 today. And if you don't win today, you can try again tomorrow. And if you don't win tomorrow, we're giving away $2,000 every day, weekday of next week as well. And the more keywords you enter, the more chances you have to win each day. Your 3 o'clock keywords, this one is good until 4 o'clock at 580WIBW.com. Your 3 o'clock keyword today is movie. Movie. M-O-V-I-E. Movie. That is your keyword for this hour on the Fall Cash Contest, 580WIBW.com. The Chiefs and the Lions play on Sunday Night Football. And after week 1, first impressions this early in the season, they still linger. We'll have forgotten week 1 for a lot of teams. Remember when the Jets and the Steelers put up 30 each in their first games, respectively, and we thought, oh, man, Aaron Rodgers and Justin Fields, They got those offenses really humming. We're going to look back in that in January and be like, that was weird. That was a stupid game. What the hell is going on there? But first impressions linger. They fade the further along you get as fall turns to winter. But for now, a first impression of a team, the first time or times we saw them, can still color how we think or how we perceive them. Our first impression of the Lions was that they didn't look like they had a very good offensive rhythm, and they scored just 13 points against the Green Bay Packers. We thought the Packers coming out of that game might be a Super Bowl contender. I don't know how we're feeling about the Packers. They're off their bye. They were a little out of sight, out of mind last week, but they're 2-1-1. I think they're a good team. But boy, after week one, we were about ready to make them the Super Bowl favorites in the NFC, and we were about to write off the Detroit Lions. And I think a healthy amount of skepticism about the Lions coming into this season was more than fair, given the fact that they had to replace a very well-regarded offensive coordinator in Ben Johnson, not to mention a very well-regarded defensive coordinator in Aaron Glenn. You do get to a point when the head coach is not the scheme guy, and Dan Campbell is not a scheme guy. He's not like a Kyle Shanahan where you can keep rolling through offensive coordinators, but it's Shanahan's offense. It's a little like Andy Reid. Like, it matters to some extent who the offensive coordinator is, but at the end of the day, it's Andy Reid's offense, or it's Kyle Shanahan's, or it's Sean McVay's offense, right? It's not Dan Campbell's offense or defense in Detroit. He's the CEO. Now, the culture that he's created is a big part of why it looks like the Lions have not missed a beat without Ben Johnson scheming things up on offense, without Aaron Glenn doing the same on defense. But I understand if you were a little skeptical, I was too, about the Lions coming into this season, their ability to sustain the high level of play that we have seen from them the last couple of seasons. And then they went out and they laid an egg in week one. And I don't think we completely, broadly, we, the football watching public, necessarily wrote them off, but it was concerning. It was a concerning performance. Since then, the Lions have scored 52, 38, 34, and 37 points. They're the best scoring offense in the league. Jared Goff looks great. Running game looks tough. They got 3 200-plus yard receivers already this season. They look like the Lions. Even without Ben Johnson holding the clipboard on the sideline, they still look like we have grown accustomed to seeing the Detroit Lions look. Of course, you get beneath the surface of the numbers, you see that they scored 52 points on the 23rd ranked defense in the NFL, the Chicago Bears. And this is according to DVOA, for the record, which is an overarching metric Football Outsiders popularized some years ago. And then they scored 38 on the Ravens, who have the 26th ranked defense in the NFL. Then they scored 37 last week on Cincinnati, who has the 30th ranked defense by DVOA in the NFL. They put up 34 against Cleveland. Cleveland's got a very good defense. They're 6th in the league in DVOA defensively. Very good defense in Cleveland. You look at that 34 points, it's a little misleading. First of all, only 27 of them came from the offense because they returned a punt for a touchdown. And of those 27 points, 17 of them came on touchdown drives of 20 yards and 5 yards and a field goal drive of 16 yards. So against the lone elite defense, truly elite, that the Lions have seen to this point this season, they had trouble sustaining drives. Now, their defense put them in a position in that game where they didn't have to sustain drives. They forced 3 turnovers. The special teams returned a kick for a touchdown. Comprehensive, complementary football kind of win. I don't want to ding the Lions for that, but I do think it says that perhaps this is not a return to the greatest show on turf. The Chiefs, meanwhile, they're 15th in defensive DVOA. So if you kind of thought in your head, well, where does that stat leave the Chiefs? Right in the middle of the league. And that seems about right based on their performance the first 5 weeks. That is where I would evaluate the Chiefs defense. I do not think it has played like an elite unit. I do not think it has played like buns. I think it has been probably somewhere in the middle. The good has been very good. The bad has been very bad. The bad was Jacksonville and the Charger game. Essentially, the other 3 games are pretty darn good, I think, for the Chiefs defense. So they're 15th in the league in defensive DVOA. So they're right in the middle. Not the kind of pushover that Detroit's offense has feasted on to this point. So do I think the Lions are going to come in and put 35, 38, 52 on the Chiefs on Sunday night? No, I don't. Meanwhile, the Chiefs offense, since the second half of the Giants game, this is how their drives have gone in the last 5 halves of football. Touchdown, punt, end of game. That was against the Giants, 24th ranked defense in DVOA. Field goal, touchdown, missed field goal, touchdown. That was against the 26th ranked Ravens defense, and I stripped out the garbage time drive with Gardner Minshew in the game at the end. And then last week, punt, touchdown, punt, turnover, punt, touchdown, end of game against a Jacksonville defense that ranks 16th in the league. DVOA strips out turnover luck a little bit. So, in 20 non-garbage time, non-end of game attempts, the Chiefs have scored 13 times. And it would be 14 if not for a missed Butker field goal. And that's all part of a season-long trend. Jesse Newell had this stat in The Athletic earlier today. The Chiefs have scored on 51% of their possessions this season. That is third best in the NFL, and it would be higher if Harrison Butker hadn't missed 3 field goals. Even with the kicking woes, even when you count a Gardner Minshew drive, end of half kneel down drives, end of game drives, the Chiefs are scoring more than half the time they get the ball. They are putting something on the scoreboard. Now, you will point out rightly that this Detroit defense is one of the best that they've played. In fact, DVOA says it's the best they play because DVOA says it's the second best defense in the NFL. But it is a beat-up group of defensive backs. It might be the 580 Sports Talk crew starting in the secondary for the Lions on Sunday night. I am in no way prepared for the task of trying to defend the slot. So hopefully for the Lions, they don't have to resort to that. But Terrion Arnold is not going to play. He has not practiced these first 2 weeks. There was a lot of thought he might be out for an extended period of time. They got some better news on a second opinion. They might get Arnold back soon enough that they don't have to put him on IR, but he's not going to play this Sunday night. Kirby Joseph, standout safety, did not practice today. Second straight day he hasn't practiced. Brian Branch was banged up against the Bengals, limited for a second straight day. Avonte Maddox just showed up on the injury report today with a hamstring. He had no designation yesterday. Today he pops up on the injury report, limited with a hamstring injury. This is a beat-up group in the secondary. And frankly, up front, it's Aiden Hutchinson, who is awesome. Let's not get it confused. There are about 30 other teams that would love to start their defenses with Aiden Hutchinson. But it's Aiden Hutchinson. It's a bunch of guys in that front seven. Just a bunch of dudes. So I think the Chiefs can get after this defense. I think the Lions offense is perhaps gettable by a better defense than what it has seen the last 3-4 weeks. And it all adds up. I mean, and I've seen the pessimism. I've seen it in the YouTube comments. I've seen it on the text line. Somebody texted on Tuesday, said Lions are going to win by double digits. Lions by 10, I think was the exact text. So I've seen it. I've seen all that pessimism. Then I look at what they're saying in Vegas, and the Chiefs are a consensus Vegas favorite in this game, with the total, by the way, of 52.5. So that suggests to me that, yeah, Vegas thinks this is going to be a high-scoring game, but they think that benefits the Chiefs right now. And for the record, that line hasn't moved much in most places with the news today that Xavier Worthy didn't practice for the Chiefs. That's the only downer on the Chiefs injury report today, is that Xavier Worthy was held out. But I think that if this is a higher scoring game, kind of feel like this Chiefs offense can hang. We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. We got plenty more Chiefs to come on the program. We're going to hear from Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy. We're going to talk to Mitch Holthus in the 5 o'clock hour. Right now, we're going to take this break. When we come back, we're going to hear from the head men's basketball coach at Washburn University, the preseason pick to repeat in the MIAA, Brett Ballard, spoke with Brendan Dworzynski earlier this week. And that's next. We're just getting started on this Thursday on 580 Sports Talk. .330 on 580 Sports Talk. Very funny question from Jeff in the YouTube comments asking, can we get an over-under? It is either or over-under day on the show. How many times Chris Collinsworth on Sunday night says how much he likes Patrick Mahomes? Hammer that over, Jeff and everyone else, because Mahomes is playing at an MVP level right now. The better he plays, the more effusive Collinsworth praise typically is. So, yeah, slam that over on that one, Jeff. Great comment. Thanks for being on the chat today over on 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Basketball season's right around the corner. The Washburn men went to the Final Four last year and won the MIAA regular season title, or the preseason pick to repeat. Our Brendan Dworzynski sat down with their head coach, Brett Ballard, earlier this week to talk about that and look ahead to the upcoming season.
We are now joined by Brett Ballard, head coach of the Washburn Ichabods, picked #1 preseason polls by both the coaches and the media around the MIAA. First thing I've got for you, Coach, just in regard to that, I know that in the long run, that stuff doesn't mean anything. anything. And you've already seen actual success on the court just within the last year. But does it still feel good for you, for this program, to see that kind of respect coming in, that our peers clearly think this highly of us going into the season?
Well, we weren't unanimous from the media, so I'm trying to figure out if that was you, Brendan, if you were the one that didn't pick us first. I'm trying to get
motivate,
to the bottom. Yeah,
right.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I talked to the guys about it. I am. Listen, I'm proud of that we have, got the program to that point, and I certainly think you want to be picked higher rather than lower. I think it's much more beneficial, in my opinion. And then it's just it's like, then how do you handle that, and can you quickly humble yourself that it doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. You look at Texas and Penn State football right now. If I'm not mistaken, they were picked 1 and 2 in the country, and neither one of those as we speak are in the top 25. So, I mean, college sports is challenging. It's hard to win games at any level in any league, but especially in ours. So, I think our guys understand that, respect that. We're proud of that, but now we just go back to work, and we honestly won't think about it much beyond that media day.
You guys wrapped up boot camp just earlier today. We were talking to Sam Ungashik a little bit ago about what going through that is like, and he's been through it 3 times now. What jumped out to you about this particular group? Is there anything that really stood out that, the activity level, the energy level, the fight, the competition? What were the things that really popped to you about this group, seeing them in a pretty unique kind of environment with those off-season workouts?
Yeah, I thought it was one of the best boot camps we've had. A couple of reasons. Just their effort was really good. We talk about, sometimes guys go into those things and just try to survive it. We wanted them to try to attack it, and I thought they did a nice job of really coming in every day with good energy and really trying to attack it, not just trying to survive. I thought our athleticism stood out. Testament to our coaching staff, but they've done a good job of recruiting athletic guys. We have good length, we have good speed, we have good positional size. And so you can see in some of those drills that the athleticism popped. And so effort was good, athleticism was good. They stuck together. Everybody knocked it out. I felt like it helped us grow, and I thought it was a good week and a half for us.
Talking to Brett Ballard, head coach of Washburn Ichabod's men's basketball. Speaking of your coaching staff, some changes, kind of unique changes this year. Coach Danielson, he moves on to the University of North Dakota basketball team. Jordan Vincent, now full-time member of the staff. Jake Schottegg, who obviously was senior last year, he's a student assistant for you this year. How valuable is it to have guys who know your expectations, program expectations, and know the team so well? How valuable is it to have those guys on staff now?
Yeah, I like that we have been able to kind of grow it from within and promote from within. It doesn't always work out that way, but you take some pride in that as a coach, that you have guys that have played for you or started off as kind of student assistants, and then they've learned the ropes, they understand the program, and just they built themselves into a coach that is deserving of a full-time spot. That's awesome. I mean, I think we would love it to continue to cultivate that here. And so I'm really pleased with our staff. Coach Danielson will be a tough guy to replace. He was really good with what we did, and we implemented some new defensive stuff last year that was really good for us, and that was in large part because of him. But Jordan Vincent played here, was on staff last year, really showed the ability to connect with guys. His basketball IQ is through the roof. He's a basketball junkie. He's watching it 24/7. So he does a great job of bringing new ideas and concepts to me, and just the way he can connect with our guys. I'm excited. Jake Schottegg. We had another guy, Nick Ferrarini, who was a Division II assistant at Colorado Pueblo last year. And so he will be on our staff as an assistant, and Coach Ferrarini played Division II basketball, so he understands that and has been at this level. And then we got Coach Jones back, who he's great as well. Coach Jones has been here for now. This is year 3, and another guy that just works his butt off and is connected with our guys.
How fired up are you for this season opening event down in Florida? It's such a cool event. I mean, so many good teams, multiple teams. Lenore Ryan is going to be in this event. You guys played in the Elite Eight. Dallas Baptist, you guys are going to play in these first couple of games. How cool is it to get to start the season on the road, new place, new kind of environment?
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. It's 2 weeks ahead of your normal start.
Yeah.
So, but you don't get any extra practice time, which is unique. None of us do. We're not the only ones. So you feel like everything's got to be a little bit accelerated as far as your installation. And that's a little nerve wracking as a coach, but we're really excited to go down there and see, where we're at against some high level competition. You know, it's always great for the guys. You get a trip to Florida. That won't be the emphasis, but you know, it is nice for them, and that's beneficial. But coming out of the gates, two really, really good teams. You're going to find out a lot about your team in that opening weekend, and then it's weird because we have a 2-week break where we don't play. We'll have a scrimmage, an exhibition, closed door scrimmage in between that, but 2 weeks to kind of then, you know, look at what we did and fine tune some things going into those next games. But we're excited. Like I said, a lot of work that needs to get done here these next 2.5, 3 weeks before we go play, but good opportunity for our guys and high level competition. So it should be fun.
Last thing I've got for you, in the very few moments you get away from basketball during the off season, how was the off season?
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Obviously coming off a big year, that always makes it better. I thought recruiting went really well. We landed 4 really good transfers. Our incoming freshman class was already set, but we feel really good about those guys. So recruiting went well. Summer camps went great this summer. You know, Lee Arena's under construction right now, so that's been exciting. I can see everything out my window: new floor, new bleachers, new branding, new lighting. We went 16-0 at home last year and led Division II in attendance, but we feel like we're going to have an even better home court advantage this year. So excited to get that thing completely done. It's a couple weeks away, and we'll be back in there. But off season was great. You just always try to balance, continue to get better and growth as a program, but also, spend some more time with family and a little bit away from basketball when you can.
Brett Ballard is the head coach of the Washburn Ichabod. Coach, as always, we appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thanks to Brett and to Brendan Dworzinski for that interview. We'll take a timeout, talk some more local sports with Rick Peterson of TopSports.news. The local sports spotlight next on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Rick Peterson of TopSports.news for the local sports spotlight. We do it every week at this time here on 580 Sports Talk. Pistol covers Shawnee County High School athletics and the Washburn Ichabods for TopSports.news. And he joins us now. And Pistol, we got football tonight. We're going to have it right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Highland Park and Atchison on some 580 preps Thursday night football. And for Highland Park, it's a return to the gridiron after having had to forfeit their last two games. And it's the big game. It's the red letter game on their schedule every year, taking on Atchison in the Meadowlark. I got to imagine Jermaine Monroe's bunch is absolutely fired up to play tonight.
Yeah, for many reasons. Obviously, you haven't played the last 2 weeks. I think they want to get that bad taste out of their mouth about what happened against Slagle and just have a really positive experience tonight. And I think, like you said, this is a game that's become the marquee game in the Meadowlark Conference. Atchison and Highland Park are fighting it out for the league title most every year now. Washington's really in that, taking over that spot or right in that spot this year and coming off a big win over Atchison. So it'll be an interesting night, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, a lot of fascinating games this week on the Week 6 high school football docket. Shifting to Friday's schedule, our Friday night game of the week here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Shawnee Heights at Seaman in the United Kansas Conference. Seaman's won 3 in a row after an 0-2 start. Shawnee Heights 1-4, but came very close to an upset of DeSoto last week thanks to a staggering 626 passing yards from senior quarterback Aiden Scott. I don't know if you're coming to cover that one, Pistol, or what, but I think whoever is coming to cover it better bring like an abacus, maybe a calculator, some extra fingers to do all the counting of the stats and the points that both of these offenses feel capable of putting up.
Yeah, I am, and I am going to cover that one, and keep good stats, guys, because I may need to steal some. Because it's funny you mentioned it. I've been thinking about that exact thing. It's like, gosh, I hope I can keep up with all the stats. So yeah, I'm pretty good, but I'm not used to covering games where people throw for 600 yards and all that. So it'll be a challenge.
Both quarterbacks have been very prolific this year. Scott for Shawnee Heights, Cale Ketter for Seaman. And both offenses like to go up tempo. So there's a game we could see a lot of snaps in the game. And snaps mean points for both of these offenses. All due respect to the defenses who have had some moments, certainly at times this season. But this feels like a game that is going to be defined by Aiden Scott and his outstanding receiving group, Tyron Parker, AJ Gallegos, Dallas Owens for Shawnee Heights. And for Seaman, the balance they have with Cole Ketter at quarterback and Quentin Moravec, the outstanding sophomore running back.
Yeah, and I also like Seaman's defense. I've seen them a couple times, and I like the way they play defense. So, I'm thinking all week, they're talking about, hey, we're not giving up 48 points, like Shawnee Heights had last week. So it's those offensive numbers for both teams are just crazy. And, there's a reason for that. They got really good athletes on both teams, and it's going to be fun. Or maybe it won't be fun. But
it's going to be a really long night, I think, one way or another. And not in one of those, oh, my God, this is a long night. Like, it's just going to be, I think, a long game with a lot of snaps and a lot of yards and a lot of excitement. Looking forward to having that one on Friday night. Rick Peterson joins us here for the local sports spotlight on 580 Sports Talk. Another good one, Holton and Hayden in Class 3A District 4. Hayden is undefeated. Holton 3-2, a surprise loss last week to upstarts Jeff West. But this game is always so fascinating. I was talking to Bill Arnold about it earlier in the week. It's fun because Hayden does what they do. Holton does what they do under Brooks Barta. There are no secrets. Everybody knows what's coming. The challenge is, can we execute it better than you can stop it? And it's just such a fascinating 48 minutes when those two teams get together because of that.
Yeah, maybe we should have taken that game because that game will be quick. Yeah, because Holton's not going to come out and throw it a lot.
We could go out to dinner after that one, Pistol. I don't think anything will be open after the Shawnee Heights Seaman game, but we could go get a meal after Holton Hayden.
That's true. And Bill will throw the ball and likes to throw the ball, but he also is very good about establishing the running game. So yeah, here, I'll make you a bet, Dan Lucero. I bet the Hayden Holton game is over before we start the fourth quarter.
I think you're probably right. I'm a little afraid to take that bet. I'll take the gentleman's side of the bet for sure, but I think you might be onto something there. Yeah. Another big game this week at Hummer Sports Park tomorrow night. Topeka High hosting Junction City. The scoreboard said Topeka High lost to Washburn Rural last week 35-6, but it was two special teams breakdowns that led directly to block kicks being returned for touchdowns that really turned the tide in that game. I thought Topeka High was very competitive. Junction City's played two massive games in a row, maybe in a bit of a letdown spot this week. Topeka High, I think, has a chance to surprise them. What is Jason Philbeck's group going to have to do to hold home field?
Well, I walked out of that game last Friday exactly what you're saying. I was very impressed with Topeka High, even though it was a 35-6 loss. And the first things that Steve Bueller said to me after that game were bragging on Topeka High and about how Topeka High really took it to them and played them tough. And so I like the way Zane Smith's playing. I think Courtney Sanders has a chance to be one of the best receivers in this area. And I think you're right. I mean, I think, the key is for High is maybe getting off to a good start and then making sure, particularly at home, that you get the game into the fourth quarter.
Pivoting to some other sports locally with Rick Peterson of TopSports.news on the local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. We have seen league tennis meets recently, and in the United Kansas Conference, it's Seaman again, a fourth straight league championship, and a team that we've talked about as a real threat in their regional and maybe even into 5A. Emma Sweeney continues to have an outstanding year, and Seaman took all four of the titles, singles 1 and 2, doubles 1 and 2. It was a great opportunity for that team to show off their depth.
Yeah, they're playing well. And the thing about tennis is it's such a compact season. We got the UKC meet got pushed back because of rain, so it was just on Tuesday. And all of a sudden, already we're going to regionals this weekend. And then a week and you're at state. So it's a very compact season, but I think that works well for a team like Seaman that's playing really good. And Jamie Robinson just told me the other day he feels like his team is where it needs to be. I mean, they actually they only have one division of singles in the league meet and one division of doubles. And Sweeney and Gorman both make it to the finals for the second straight year. And the doubles team won the title. They also got a third place finish in doubles, and they're ready to go. And I think they will dominate that regional on Saturday at Kosovo.
There was also Centennial League Tennis. It was a good showing for the local squads there. Hayden finished in a tie for second place. Topeka High had the individual champion. Madeline Dieters, the senior, took first place. And you talk about playing a big, important meet the same week of regionals gets you in that competitive mode. I got to think Dieters and the Hayden team, who, of course, has been state champions recently, should both go into regionals feeling good.
Yes, and I think they will. And, the regionals are already coming up Friday and Saturday. I think 6A is on Friday, and it's a 2-day regional for Hayden. And they'll both do well. Madeline Dieters is a player that I really like. She is going to be a 6A state qualifier, and she's been there before. She knows what it takes, and I expect her to challenge for a top finish there. It's a very tough division, but I think she will go after a medal.
Last thing, Pistol, let's pivot to Washburn athletics. Let's go to basketball because we saw the MIAA preseason polls come out this week. Washburn men, not really a surprise that they were the preseason favorite to repeat as league champions, but maybe people raised an eyebrow when they saw how well regarded Lora Westling's Washburn women are. picked second by the coaches with the most first place votes, picked third by the media. Lots of reasons for optimism. What's the primary reason for that optimism for the Washburn women?
Well, Lora Westling, and I believe this is their fourth year, they've improved every year. They're a legitimate team. I mean, they have the legitimate talent. They have legitimate experience and great coaching. I guess I was surprised, too, that they got that many first place votes in a really tough conference. But I just am a big fan of what Lora and that team have done in the first 3 years. And remember last year they had 0 seniors.
Yep.
So it's no surprise that they're going to be a contender. And then Brett Ballard's turned that, not turned that because it was always a great program, but he's maintained the greatness that Washburn has shown over the years in the men's program. And I think they're going to be one of the top programs in the nation for a long time.
The Washburn football team is back to action on Saturday afternoon. They hit the road to take on Pitt State. There's just no easy games in the MIAA. Washburn going into this one, again, off a bye. They're looking for their first MIAA win of the season. That certainly won't come easily against the Gorillas team ranked nationally in the top 15, but I'm sure that team, again, coming off a bye, you got a team chomping at the bit to go out and prove itself.
Yeah, sitting with Zach, talking to him yesterday, he thought the bye week was really good for him and came at a good time. They got some people healthy, and like you said, now they're just ready to go. It's gonna be a tough challenge, and Zach and I talk about that every week. Every week in the MIAA is a tough challenge, but I think the bye week was good for them. They're coming off 2 back-to-back 1-touchdown games, and I think they'll give the Gorillas a battle.
Rick Peterson will have it all covered. He and his staff at TopSports.news covers Shawnee County High School sports and the Washburn Ichabods. And Pistol joins us every Thursday at this time for the local sports spotlight. It is always a pleasure, Pistol. We'll see you on Friday night for sure. And again, I think you're probably right about that game maybe still being in the fourth while Hayden and Holton are already loading up their buses. So we will see you later on, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, thank you.
That is Rick Peterson. We will step aside for a timeout. We'll come back with more 580 Sports Talk, wrap up this first hour next. 3:56 on 580 Sports Talk. Our thanks again to Rick Peterson for joining us. Again, we got a double dip of high school football tonight and tomorrow night here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Highland Park and Atchison tonight. Spencer Dupuis and I on the call up in the booth at Hummer Sports Park. Then tomorrow night, Shawnee Heights and Seaman. I love that rivalry. That's such a fun rivalry in the United Kansas Conference, and typically the games are awesome. Last year, there were, doing a little math here, 93 combined points in that game. Seaman had a lot more of them. 59-34, they beat the T-Birds last year. 94 combined points. I think we might see a similar number. I don't know that both coaches would love to see a similar number, but we might see a similar number. That's how good those offenses are. It's not a knock on the defense. It's not. It is all about how good those offenses are. Aiden Scott's having one of the most prolific passing seasons in the state. Seaman does it with their balance. They're good on the ground. They're good through the air. Both teams have good offensive lines, and both teams like to go fast on offense. They like to try to wear you out. So I'm going to need to be hydrated on the call of that one tomorrow night. That's for sure. Myself, Greg Akagi, Spencer Dupuis will be your broadcast crew tomorrow night for the 580 Preps game of the week. Hope you'll join us for them both. It'll be a good time. Coming up next hour, are the Chiefs aggressive enough offensively, particularly on fourth down? We'll talk about it. Plus, what is wrong with you? And we'll hear from Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo. That's all coming up on the 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on a Thursday afternoon. So glad you're with us here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color, our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk, our Facebook page, WIBW News. My name is Dan Lucero. Mostly solo today, though you'll hear a little bit more from Brendan Wrzinski later on. Spencer Dupuis is going to poke his head in for What Is Wrong With You as well. We're busy people. We got places to be. We got things to do. I have this thing to do, this thing called 580 Sports Talk, and I'm grateful that I get to do it and that you all get to hear it, and I appreciate you guys being along. No matter where you're listening from, no matter how you're listening or watching the program, however you are perceiving the show today. Or whenever, frankly. Some of you, I know, not able to watch live or listen live, and some of you are hearing this maybe in the later evening or the early morning the next day, catching up on back episodes on Spotify. Follow us on Spotify, by the way. Follow us and rate us and review us on Spotify. We don't ask you to do much. We really don't. We don't ask a lot of you. We ask that you enjoy the show. We hope that you enjoy the show. It's not a requirement, but we think you'll like it if you give it a shot. The only things we ask of you are things like subscribe to the YouTube channel or follow, rate, and review us on Spotify. That's really it. I don't know that I ask you to do a whole lot else for us. So it's a small ask, really, when you think about it that way. Follow, rate us, review us on Spotify, 580 Sports Talk. You get the hour-by-hour breakdowns of the show. Maybe you don't have Spotify. That's fine. Go to our website, 580WIBW.com. The podcast is there. Or, again, the archived videos show up on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and you can go back and you can watch every show we've done since October of 2022. That's fact. Every show we've done since 2022 of October of 2022. You can go back to a random Tuesday in March of 2023, and whatever we were talking about, whatever the What Is Wrong With You was, it's all there. And you can watch us. And you can see how the crew has evolved, so to speak. You can go watch old Mic'd Up with Jake and Fulton episodes too, if you're so inclined. Anyway, appreciate everybody tuning in again, however, wherever, whenever. Thanks for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. Want to hear from you throughout the program? Text line is open. 785-272-9429 is the number. 785-272-9429. You can also get at us in the live chat on YouTube. If you are watching the show live on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, there is a live chat. You can find it in the web browser. You can find it on the mobile app. You can type words into it, words that I can read, words that your fellow listeners can read. Grow the community of 580 Sports Talk and make your voice heard on the program today. Questions, comments, concerns, your grocery list. Really, nothing's out of bounds over in the YouTube live chat. We appreciate everybody who's a part of that today and any day over on our 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. How'd you like to win $2,000? We're giving away $2,000 today at our website, 580WIBW.com. It's our fall cash contest. $2,000 a day, every weekday, all this week and all next week. And the more keywords you enter, the more of a chance you have to win. So we got a keyword for this hour. I'm only going to say it once. So listen, well, I'm only going to say it this one period of time. I'll say it a bunch. But you've got the rest of this hour, this 4 o'clock hour, 4 o'clock Central Time, to enter the keyword in the contest page at our website, 580WIBW.com. There's a link at the top of the page that says contest. Click on that and then enter this keyword and enter your information, and you're entered with a chance to win $2,000. More keywords you enter, more chances you have to win. We do a keyword every hour from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So maybe you've already entered some keywords today. Maybe you entered the one I gave you in the 3 o'clock hour. Now you're looking forward to this keyword that you can enter for your chance to win $2,000. And this hour's keyword, spend. Spend. S-P-E-N-D. Spend. As in, how would you spend the $2,000 if you won it? Spend is the keyword this hour. I know how I would spend it. I would probably spend it all at Barnes & Noble and homefieldapparel.com. I'm a pretty simple man. I like my vintage college sports apparel, and I like to read. I went out. My wife got me Barnes & Noble gift card for my birthday recently. I went over there the other day and balled out. You know how expensive books are anymore? It's $30 for a hardcover. That's outlandish. I pay it because I like to support authors that I think do good work. And every now and again, it's nice to hold a book in your hands instead of doing, like, I've done the whole thing you read on your tablet. I've got a tablet. I've bought books on like Google Books or the Amazon Kindle. Like, I've done that, but I like to hold a book sometimes. Something rewarding about the heft of a book. Anyway, but how would you spend that $2,000? I just saw Tyler in the YouTube comments said nothing but Fuddruckers. Straight Fuds. Oh, man. Stay tuned for What Is Wrong With You if you don't get that reference. Our current What Is Wrong With You champion for the week spent $900 of taxpayer money at the Fuddruckers in Spartanburg County, South Carolina. Not the only thing he bought, but definitely the funniest thing he bought. And there's stiff competition, frankly. It's a really funny What Is Wrong With You. Great line, Tyler. That cracked me up. Anyway, yeah, spend. That's your keyword this hour. 580WIBW.com. Enter for your chance to win $2,000. Text asked, what year was the skeleton boneyard What Is Wrong With You story? That is a great question. I could actually look that up real fast if you would like me to. The people love the skeleton. We called it the skeleton sex house. We were not really subtle about it. That might have been October of 22. Oh, November. It was November of 2022. So that episode's probably on YouTube. November of 2022. I couldn't swear to the exact date of what that episode was. It was probably early in November because it was a story about Halloween decorations and somebody making the skeletons in their yard look like they were in flagrante, so to speak. Yeah, that's early November. If you want to go back and watch that old episode of 580 Sports Talk, by all means. People still love that story. There are a handful of What Is Wrong With You that still get mentioned a couple of years after the fact. And sometimes it makes you wonder if you pick the right yearly champion, because the Skeleton Sex House is one of the most popular What Is Wrong With Yous in the history of the show. But that did not win the 2022 championship. The Family Funeral Feud won the 2022 championship. And I love that story. That's one of my favorite yearly winners of all time. And we've been doing this now for 9 years. I think it can have an all-time favorite or two. But man, the Skeleton Sex House was the people's choice. There's no question about that. That's one. The Skeleton Sex House is the 1998 Minnesota Vikings of What Is Wrong With You. Like an all-time favorite that didn't get the ring. They're the 1994 Expos. They're the man, who else? The 07 Patriots, right? Everybody loves that story, but they did not. They didn't win the ring. They did win the month. I think they made the final, and we went with the Family Funeral Feud instead, just because there was so much to that story. They got in a fight at their mother's funeral and accidentally filled up the grave with. They broke a water main and it filled the grave, which is such a horrifying yet hilarious image. I will still argue for that one as the best story of 2022, but everybody loves the Skeleton Sex House. 913 shouts out the Winnebago. We're not done with the Winnebago yet. The Winnebago will be back in December of this year. The Winnebago was our monthly champion in July of this year. So that will be back, along with Operation Bear Claw and the Cool Mom and the Meth Cannon, and some good monthly champions so far this year on What Is Wrong With You. Anyway, that one's coming up in a little bit. I wanted to talk a little more about the Chiefs this hour. We're going to hear from Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy here in just a little bit. They both spoke to the media earlier today. during overtime, because we're going to have overtime today ahead of our high school football coverage, Highland Park versus Atchison, 7 o'clock kick on our 580 Preps Thursday night football game this week. We're going to play Dave Tobe in overtime. We're also going to play Chris Jones in overtime. And Jones was the only player who spoke to the media today. And naturally, he was asked about that final play of the game against Jacksonville. And we've talked about it, I think, every day this week, that it looked like he was lazy or he quit on the play. And Chris Jones had a chance to defend himself, say, hey, look, I thought we had him down, and I kind of stopped because I thought we had him down. And then he got up, and then I thought we had him down again, so I stopped again. I'm paraphrasing here. But he said, I didn't quit on the play. I just thought the play was over, and it's a teachable moment for me. And he's right. And that's all you can say, really, as far as defense of his play there, is that you can't assume that the play is over. The play isn't over till you hear the whistle. Play through the whistle. And it's something that, it gets drilled into your head at every level of football, but that doesn't mean that even the best don't occasionally not play through the whistle. It's happened to a lot of players, and it happened to Chris Jones. And he owned it. I think as best he could. He did his best to explain, hey, this is what happened. This is why it happened. It's a learning moment for me. It will not happen again. And that's the part that really you want to hear, because you can't go back and reverse what happened Monday night, but it can't happen again. It can't happen again. So that's what Chris Jones had to say. And you'll hear his remarks in full again. That'll be in overtime during the 6 o'clock hour here today on 580 WIBW. Not truly part of 580 Sports Talk, but part of the overtime, right? Anyway, I want to talk a little bit more about the offense, because it's still not sitting right with me that the Chiefs punted on their opening offensive possession on Monday night. They had 4th and 2 in the Jacksonville 46, and they punted. And I gave you the numbers earlier, how good they've been, in particular the last 2 weeks, and really over the course of the whole season. Even an offense that we thought was stuck in the mud for the first 5 halves of the season, they've hit the accelerator their most recent 5 halves of the season. They have scored on 51% of all of their drives. That includes drives where Gardner Minshew played, so that last drive against Baltimore. That includes end-to-half, kneel-it-out kind of drives. That includes drives where you didn't really have any time to operate, like the end of the Jacksonville game. All drives. The Chiefs have scored on more than half of their drives. They're 3rd best in the NFL when it comes to scoring percentage, for lack of a better name for the stat. They score 51% of the time. More than half the time they touch the ball. And that number would be higher if Harrison Butker had not missed 3 field goals this season. So it's an offense operating as close to ramming speed as we have seen the Chiefs offense operate, certainly this early in the season, but I would say just broadly in the last 3 years, since 2022, we have not seen a Chiefs offense cook like this. And so punting the ball on 4th and 2, I wouldn't punt it on 4th and 2 ever if I had Patrick Mahomes as my quarterback. That is a very easy thing to say for me, because my job does not depend on whether or not you convert the 2 yards. But I have that confidence, right? But I was going back, I was trying to find how often the Chiefs were going for it on 4th down this season, which scenarios they were going for it in. And I found this quote from Andy Reid after the Eagles game. You remember the Eagles game, first drive of the second half. Chiefs had a 4th and 1. I think they were at their own 31. And they had a 4th and 1. They came out in the freaking T formation, and they ran this really cumbersome sweep with Kareem Hunt. And unsurprisingly, it did not work. It's one thing to go for it, and 4th and 1 with that offense, I would always lean to go for it. And it was probably, like, analytically speaking, the right call to go for it. I just hated the play. Too slow to develop, just a real cumbersome running play. Just get behind your center and your right guard, who are all pro caliber. Get behind those 2 big dudes. Do that. Get your 3 feet and keep the drive going. Anyway, it's not the play call that's in question here. Andy Reid was asked about that decision immediately after the game, and I found his quote from his post-game press conference. And this is what he said, quote, "They were going to stay aggressive," they being the Eagles. "They were going to stay aggressive. Likewise, I think it's important against that crew to just stay aggressive. Again, the crew in question here is not like the officials. He's talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. So that quote raised two questions for me. Is it important to stay aggressive against a crew like the Eagles because they are particularly aggressive on fourth down? Or is it important to stay aggressive against a crew like the Eagles because you know how good they are and you view them as, well, honestly, for the Chiefs, more than just viewing them as a peer, as a top team in the league, probably viewing them kind of as your daddy, because now you've lost 3 straight to those guys, right? Like, there's any team that the Chiefs are kind of looking up at right now, it's the Eagles. So that was my question that arose there. Are the Chiefs more aggressive going for it because they played a team that is aggressive going for it? Well, it's a funny thing. The Eagles are actually relatively conservative when it comes to going for it on fourth down. When the math says it makes sense, when there's an opportunity to add win probability of greater than 1.5%, which, like, for one play in a game, that's a big jump in win probability for it to swing more than 1.5% on a play. If you have a chance to increase your win probability by more than 1.5% on a fourth down play, that's a kind of a toss-up. Like, that's a one, though, that the book will say you should definitely go for it. It will be beneficial for your chance to win the game if you go for it and you get it here. Going for it is the right call by the book. And every coach has a book, right? And maybe not a literal book, but you know what I mean. So the Eagles are very by the book when it comes to going for it when they should go for it on fourth down. They do that about 90% of the time. Those situations call for it. But in the toss-up situations where it's, well, you could go for it here, but it would be defensible to not go for it here. The risk doesn't outweigh the reward as sizably as it does in the obvious scenarios where you would go for it. In those situations, and I have this data from RBSDM.com. That's short for running backs don't matter. Ben Baldwin is the name of the guy who runs all these graphs and stats and such, and he's a must follow. Whatever social media you got, X, Blue Sky, whatever, you should follow him on there because the graphs are always really interesting. The Eagles have not gone for it this season in a toss-up fourth down scenario. They only go for it when the book is unequivocally, yes, go for it. So they're conservative, really, when it comes to fourth down. But when it's a clear-cut go-for-it situation, they always go for it. The Chiefs, for their part, they go for it about 15% of the time out of 100 when it's a toss-up. And they go for about 70% of the you should definitely go for this fourth downs. So they lean a little more aggressive and a little more by the book than the average team. The Eagles are more conservative than the average team when it comes to going for it on fourth down. The Jaguars are even more conservative. They go for it less often in toss-up situations than the Chiefs, and they go for it less often in obvious fourth down situations than the Chiefs. So you're playing against the Jaguars. You know this stuff. Like you're a coach, you're a coaching staff. You dig into these numbers. You know that Jacksonville is one of the more, for lack of a better way to put it, cowardly teams on fourth down. Shouldn't you then press the accelerator on your own fourth downs, be more aggressive, try to get that edge, try to get that extra percentage or two of win probability on your side by going for it on a 4th and 2 in plus territory with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback? So why didn't the Chiefs? I think it's the second answer. I don't think the Chiefs thought the Jaguars could beat them. Not in an arrogant way, not in a oh, we're not going to prepare, we're going to take this game for granted kind of way. I think it was simply that they trusted their defense against the Jacksonville offense. And didn't think it would be a big deal to punt and say, well, we'll get a stop, we'll get the ball right back. And they did in that scenario. They weren't wrong in that scenario. But I feel like against the best teams on the schedule, that's where you're going to see the Chiefs be more aggressive on fourth down. We saw them be aggressive on fourth down against the Ravens, for instance, because that's a team the Chiefs respect and know that that's a peer team for them in the AFC. And I think you're going to see them be appropriately aggressive this coming Sunday night with the Lions in town, who, for the record, the Lions go for it every time Literally 100% of the time that the book says go for it, they go for it on fourth down. Every time. And they're one of the most aggressive teams in going for it when the book isn't sure. When the numbers don't necessarily bear out that it's a must-go fourth down situation. Dan Campbell loves going for it on fourth down. If you don't know anything about that guy, you know these two things. You know biting kneecaps and you know going for it on fourth down. So the Chiefs, I think, will be prone to match that on Sunday because I think that's how they respect the Lions. And I think they had about a bit of a different view of how they matched up against the Jaguars, a dimmer view of the Jaguars than they do of the teams that they consider in their peer group. But my argument is, I don't care who you play. Fourth down and short and plus territory, go for it every single time. If the defense doesn't get the stop on short field, that's their problem, but I'm going to feel good about not even putting them in short field because I'm going to feel about getting 2 yards because I got a quarterback playing like an MVP right now. We're going to take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll come back with What is Wrong with You. We'll hear from Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo in a little bit. 580 Sports Talk continues after this timeout. So what is wrong with you time on 580 Sports Talk? And you know I couldn't do it alone, so we welcome in the play-by-play man for tonight's 580 Preps Thursday night football game between Highland Park and Atchison, Spencer Dupuis. Spencer, how we doing?
We're doing good. We're day of prepping. It's a Thursday game, so coaches, I understand, they're trying to get their team ready, and they forget to send the information sometimes. So, yeah, been prepping all day.
You got everything you needed?
Yes.
Good. That we're looking forward to joining you tonight and hearing some 580 Preps Thursday Night Football. Highland Park and Atchison tonight.
I forgot that Atchison is the school with the long line of families that name their kids after Yankees players.
Yep,
So
that's right.
tonight's starting quarterback for the Atchison Phoenix is Yogi Purdy.
That's right. I do wonder. I think that side of the family, the gentleman, the father's name is Casey, as in Stengel. I think they're done having kids, so I guess it'll be the next generation that'll name kids things like Aaron.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Judge Purdy. I don't know. They've done the last name thing. The elder boy.
I feel like Judge Purdy sounds like an authoritative name. Like I would name my kid Judge.
Judge is an interesting first name. Judge Reinhold, the actor, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Anyway, we got 2 new stories today on what is wrong with you. Trying to take down the sheriff from Spartanburg County, South Carolina, that stole $17,000 in taxpayer money and bought things like cigarettes, app store games, an iPad, an at-home drug test, and $900 spent at a local Fuddruckers, which is just creasing me. Anyway, it gets funnier every time. Yep. It's probably the name of the restaurant, honestly. Like, he spent $900 at, like, the Sizzler. That would still be funny, but not as funny as Fuddruckers.
Yeah.
Anyway, 2 new stories today. I will go first today. We both have stories about naked people.
Yes.
That was done totally by accident. My naked man is an escaped inmate in Harris County, Georgia. He was arrested Monday after walking away from a work site and later being found without clothes in Southwest Georgia. The inmate was assigned to the Harris County Prison. He walked away from a work detail near the Idle Hour boat ramp in Fortson around 2:26 p.m. Deputies and Georgia State Patrol troopers responded to the area. Officials alerted nearby schools and issued a code red alert for residents. About 20 minutes later, someone flagged down a deputy to report a naked man attempting to stop cars on Lick Skillet Road.
What a name for a road.
The American South, man. Lick Skillet Road. Naked man on Lick Skillet Road. That's the name of this story. That's the name of this show. Naked man on Lick Skillet Road. The deputy found the man and confirmed he was the escaped inmate. He was arrested and returned to the prison camp. That's what you really want to do if you're an escaped inmate. How can I not draw attention myself? I know. I'll be naked. Nobody will suspect a thing. I mean, I guess the alternative is you got your prison jumpsuit and the clothes marked prison. But, like, I don't know, man. You probably got to break into, like, a gas station, like something, and steal some clothes at that point if you're really committed. You can't be out there flapping in the breeze and think you're going to get away. No chance. Your story today, Spencer.
Yes, we are going to Lake City, Florida, 60 miles southwest of Jacksonville. A man was arrested early Wednesday after police say he was found naked and behaving erratically outside a Walmart. According to the Lake City Police Department, officers responded to the store at about 2:45 in the morning after receiving reports of a suspicious person in the parking lot. Police dispatched advised that a nude male had been chasing Walmart employees and fled towards a wooded area north of the store. Officers canvassed the area and found the man on his hands and knees in the woods, appearing agitated and paranoid. The Lake City Chief of Police, Gerald Butler, said in the release. Police said he was largely nonverbal and incoherent. Concerned for his safety, officers called EMS and placed the man in hand restraints. He was taken from the woods to a patrol car and transported by EMS to a hospital for evaluation.
So this is a shouldn't have smoked that stuff story. Yeah. In possibly could also be something the mental breakdown involved, but it sure sounds like he shouldn't have smoked that stuff.
Yes, he said his name was Raheem, but his name was actually Rakeem.
Oh, I forgot his name. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, man. Shouldn't.
So he's facing indecent exposure and resisting an officer without violence charges.
Shouldn't have smoked that stuff, Rakeem. All right, who we got today? I'm going to go with the naked guy breaking out of prison.
Yeah,
like, of sound mind, we presume. We'll go with him today, but I do not think that's beating our gentleman, our sheriff, our stealing sheriff. 92 packs of cigarettes, $1,300 worth of in-game purchases at the App Store. That is crazy.
Yeah.
An adult, an old.
I do want to know if he tried playing those games on his phone and then realized,
maybe they can trace this.
No. If he goes, maybe I should just go buy an iPad because it's a better experience. So then he goes out and buys the iPad.
I had to look up some of the app stuff. Like HuntWise is not a game. That's a hunting app. Apparently you got to buy stuff in the app.
You probably have to buy so you know what land is whose land.
Could be. It provides the ultimate hunting advantage that optimizes your outdoor experience. That was worth stealing from the public for. That guy continues on as our What Is Wrong With You champion into Friday. We'll take a timeout. We'll hear from Nags and Spags next. .439 on 580 Sports Talk. It was a Thursday at One Arrowhead Drive on a normal game week for the Chiefs. Sunday night football at home against the Lions. And if it's a Thursday, that means the coordinators are speaking. Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy both met with the media today. We'll hear from Spags and then Nagy. Here is the Chiefs defensive coordinator.
I'm not going to go back on too much. We're certainly disappointed in the way the last week worked out from a defensive standpoint. We get in that position and we hope to end the game and win it. So very disappointed, but we've moved on. This next team we're getting ready to play, every bit as good as the one we played, maybe better. So all our focus is on that. And with that, I'll open it up.
On the last play, even aside from just Chris, once the play gets kind of blown up like that, I mean, does it?
It's a weird deal. Yeah, it's a weird deal. Listen, we always talk about never assume. Like I'm talking about on a 1st and 10 play. You know, backside corner, don't assume he's down. You know, don't assume your buddy's going to get him tackled. And I think guys just got caught up in the moment and thought he was down. It didn't work out that way. I think we'll all learn from it, and we've moved on, and hopefully that doesn't happen again.
Does it make it harder because Chris has been around for a long time?
Yeah.
He's your highest paid guy. Does that make it more difficult?
Well, I mean, listen, when somehow, some way we needed to get him down. I mean, there's a lot. I'm not going to pick at all the things that happened, but there were other things that went on that, you know, that play, you know, it would have given us another chance to defend another play. I mean, we're assuming that Chris would have been able to get there. We don't know that. But there was a lot of things on that play that could have gone a little bit better. I think all the guys would tell you that. And we need to find a way. We had really, when you look at it, we got a little bit fortunate and lucky that he got stepped on. You know, I mean, it was a pass play that we needed to defend. We were expecting pass that didn't materialize because he stumbled, and what happened. I tell you what I'm going to say is I give the quarterback a lot of credit. A lot of guys would have fallen down or stumbled or whatever. He didn't. He got in the end zone, so I give him credit for that.
I know that one wasn't a center run, but, you know, Trevor Lawrence kind of gassed you a little bit on that. Christian said afterwards, gap, we got to be.
You're talking about the other plays he ran. Yeah, those were frustrating plays. He had at least 2 or 3. And we talk about rush lanes all the time. We can't give you can't give any of these, and especially not an athlete like that. You can't give him that kind of opening. I thought the coverage on the back end was really good. I think that's why Trevor pulled it down and ran. And when that happens, whoever we've committed to the pass rush have to make sure we don't let them get out and get that kind of yardage.
The snaps were going up and up and up. This was kind of flat. I guess is there any rhyme or reason?
Just from more of the standpoint of what packages we had in, because there's certain packages where he's in there, and you know, for whatever reason, we went with the other packages.
Coach, you like to identify what you call game wreckers on the opponent's side. When you look at this Detroit team, what were some of the unique challenges?
They all had red on them. We always put the red on the game wreckers. Yeah, they're you see it. He's got a lot of weapons, and the guy pulling the trigger out there is pretty good. He's really accurate. His tops in a lot of different things. I flashed them up the other day. This number 1 scoring offense in the NFL, or was at least a week ago, whatever. I don't know where they are now. I'm sure they're still up there. Our thing always, our number 1 goal going into these games is to limit points allowed, and it'll be the same focus with all the weapons that they have. We're going to have to pick and choose who we quote unquote try to take away, and then some guys are going to have to do some heavy lifting on their own.
Specifically about Montgomery and Gibbs on that attack, just what makes them so effective as a one?
Their skill just sticks out. They're similar in some ways, different in others. I mean, I think that 5 is a pretty powerful runner. I think they gear him plays toward that. 0 gets out on the edge quite a bit, and he's a threat as a pass receiver as well. And I'll tell you what, they put them out there both at the same time, and that becomes a challenge. So, we got to tighten all kinds of things up. I just, I keep going back. I wish we played better in the 2-minute. We'd be feeling a little bit differently about everything, because we played the run fairly well, except for the quarterback, but the quarterback's included. Hopefully that won't happen again this week.
Steve, with Kelvin Shepard and your time.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah.
What does it mean to you to see him have this success?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought him up. Kelvin, I think the world of Kelvin Shepard. When he played for us in New York those 2 years, he was our Nick Bolton. They're very, very similar. Those guys are kind of cut from the same cloth. I said to Kelvin at the time, I don't think he was thinking about coaching when he got done playing. I said, I think he'd make a heck of a football coach. And over the 2 or 3 years, I think he stayed out of it and, kind of coached him. He got the bug. I think he went down to LSU first. And there were times that we talked about Kelvin and trying to get him here. I think he's doing a terrific job, and I'm really happy for him, really proud of him. Yeah.
Some of the things that the Lions do well under center, play action, or some of the things that the Chargers had some success with. I guess what's the challenge of that, and maybe what did you learn from?
Yeah, well, anytime a team can be on schedule from an offensive standpoint and be a threat to us, run or pass, it's going to be a challenge. If we really need to create a couple of negative plays. First and second down are going to be really important. And then, as always, win third down. But they do pose that particular problem. They're really good at play action. In other words, they sell it. They match things up. They're really good, I think, and they have been for a long time. I know the coordinator's different, but they're really good at matching the runs with the play action, matching the motions that you're going to get and shifts that particular game. They run it, and all of a sudden there's a pass play off of that, and that's what you're talking about. And we're aware of that. But a lot of that's going to come, and I think our assistant coaches do a great job on defense in game, feeding to our guys. Okay, they ran this with that motion and shift. Expect this coming up. So hopefully we can be ahead of the game on those.
Do you expect to see Omar be able to play more snaps this week, and what does he give you if you're able to do that?
Yeah, well, he was last week. It was he got dinged, and that was an unfortunate but he'll hopefully. I think he's okay. I mean, the practices. I think you guys were out there yesterday, so we didn't have helmets on, and so we'll find out where we're at when we can gear Omar up a little bit and see where he is at the end of the week. But I would anticipate and would have anticipated last week that his rep count would have gone up had he played.
We're going to go last three, starting with Washburn.
Steve, just sort of turning this forward from last week, what's the coachable point on the ball that went off Trent, Drew, and Nick? Or sometimes quirky things happen.
That was pretty quirky. I would have expected. Listen, when it is bobbling like that, I've always said somebody has to go attack it. Don't try to finesse it. Not have to see it again. I remember when it happened. I thought we had it, and then it was on the ground. I mean, Drew and Nick could probably be able to tell you better what happened. But I think that someone's got to go up, and we always talk about the highest point when that thing's bobbling up and down. Now there was not an offensive player contesting it with the two of them, but when you're going after football, I think you got to go attack it and grab it and pull it back in and go.
Todd?
That would be my.
When you're facing a team like this who goes for fourth downs, that's not unorthodox.
Yeah.
How much preparation has to go in during the week to let the guys know, don't take your guard down just when you stop someone?
Yeah, third down can be really second down. It's funny. It feels like every week we talk about, this team's going to go for it on fourth down. I just think that's where the league's going to. I mean, 4th and 2 at our 40-yard line to offenses is let's go get it. We do it. Other teams do it. So this week is not any different. I mean, we know Dan's real aggressive, and we're going to be planning for it. He did when we played him here 2 years ago, and we're practicing those plays that we think we might see.
Last one's for
Coach, last week we were talking about Noel Williams and his ascension, and then he only had 4 snaps.
Yeah.
What was the circumstance that?
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying that was not a reflection on any thought of how we thought Noel was doing at all. It was really just what we put out there package-wise. Like, if you guys notice, when Noel goes in, it's when Trent goes in at nickel. And, for various reasons, we went the other way with the pieces. And he didn't end up with as many snaps. That could change this week. I think he's doing a really good job for us. It doesn't seem like it's been too big for him. I was really encouraged by that when he played a bunch of snaps the games before. And depending on which way the game goes in terms of down and distance, we'll see how many plays he gets in this one.
That was Steve Spagnuolo. Now here is the Chiefs offensive coordinator, Matt Nagy, from earlier today.
Coach, I know the result wasn't what you guys wanted, but it looks like the offensive efficiency has really picked up. What are you seeing that's kind of working together?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's not, we always want to make sure that we go back to 2 weeks ago. You heard me mention about an identity, and I think we're getting closer to that. I still think we're working through some things, but part of getting Xavier back is a big part of it, which is great. But in the end, the only thing that matters is that win. And you just look back at, you go back to the middle of that game, we had 2 3-and-outs there at the end of the half and in the start of the third, which the last couple games we've been good at the start of the third quarter. This one we went 3-and-out, followed by an 11 or 12 play drive that ended with a pick 6. So that was a 14-point swing. So there's good within there that we're doing. We like that. We can build, but it's the situational stuff when you have a game like that you want to take advantage of. We didn't do that. I think the beauty of who we are is we stick together, we learn from it, and we got to correct it.
Asking Patrick about the Saturday looks and being in your position. Have you seen any more of those throughout the course of the season? Because it looked like the pick 6 was something where he wasn't expecting. He just got gotten. You seen a lot more of those?
Yeah, it's common when you have a quarterback like we have that teams are going to try to do as much as they can and break tendencies, which we're well aware of, and credit to them for having a guy that was in the right place at the right time and that sort of thing. So that's part of the game. I think all that said, we also want to just step back and for us and just say, okay, that happened. That's sudden change. That's our job as an offense to score. We gave up 7 points essentially. And then what I was proud for the offense of doing was at the end of the end of the game to have that drive to go in there down 3 and go up 4 was good. But we can't put our defense or our team in that situation. When we start off fast, 14-0, we got to end it, and we got to keep our foot on the pedal.
Matt, speaking of tendencies there, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sure.
Yeah, Matt, speaking of tendencies in the red zone and down and distance, how often do you guys keep tabs on making sure you aren't going to the same thing over and over.
We live in that world. I mean, that's something that's very normal for a lot of teams, and we want to always be not just on what the defense does, but also what are we doing. So we got to make sure that we do that. And again, there's sometimes some plays that look wide open that weren't schemed the right way, or they are wide open and they weren't run the right way. So that's just how the game goes. But that was one play. Obviously, we want to have back, but there was a lot of good plays in there too that we want to grow from.
Player, I mean, we've seen him pass in this game. I guess what do you think led to that breakthrough?
Not sure, other than just we all had talks with him, just like be yourself, just go play, don't put pressure on yourself, go out there, cut it loose, have fun. He has an unbelievable personality that's infectious, and I think sometimes, when you get in moments where you're just not having the success that you want, you can start to press. That's human nature. So it's our job as coaches to just say, hey man, cut it loose, go have fun. And I think we felt that in that game.
5 weeks in, to State of the Union with Josh Simmons, what do you think from him?
I like where he's at. I think he's in a good place. If you as a young guy, rookie, you want to be able to have somebody that's growing, and he's doing that right now. Impressed with how he practices. And I go back to kind of our thoughts in training camp. We said there's going to be a couple plays here or there where it's a big play, but you don't want it to be a game-changing play. And he's done a really good job. And I think this last game here was, again, one of his better games that we want to continue to just have him keep improving with. And I like where he's at.
Couple more.
And Taylor, I guess how daunting of a matchup is Hutchinson and just making sure
Yeah.
doesn't ruin the game?
They're tough. They are. I look at these guys on tape. You see them on TV, and the word that comes to mind is relentless. I mean, their motor goes nonstop. And I think they work off of each other, that defense in general. I mean, they get one sack, they're looking to get that second sack. If it's a pressure, relentless is the thing that keeps coming to mind for me. And so we want to make sure they're not relentless on Sunday night.
We're going to go last to Nick and Matt and Matt.
On that last drive, Patrick had to throw to Hollywood that looked like it had a lane that could have been a big play there that had been completed. Was that Patrick just pulling the trigger a tad early, or was that Hollywood just not being ready for the
It's probably a little bit of both, Matt. It's one where that end of game situation stuff, we obviously practice all of that, and we have certain things for it. But I think probably the best way and easiest way to say is you got to certainly be on time with some of that stuff, and they were just off a little bit, and neither one of them was right or wrong. In that moment, we'd love to be able to have them both be on the same page so we can get down and call timeout.
Coach, you spoke about this a little bit, but what did that last scoring drive say about your team when you had to have it, you went down there and got it?
It spoke volumes to where we're at right now. We talked about it as a team, just making sure these guys understand when adversity hits, what type of team are we? And so you can take that to the offensive side and say, do we point the finger at the defense? Does the defense point the finger at us? None of that. And I think to Coach Reed and what he's built here, the culture of togetherness, the sideline the last couple of games has been phenomenal. And so we wanted to do our part by giving up that pick six of going down there and making sure that we put together a good drive. Right before that, the defense got a pick, and we went in and took advantage of that. So it's complimentary football, and I was proud of the guys for that. But we want more, and we know in the end, none of that stuff matters other than just winning. And we don't care how ugly or pretty it is. We want to win.
That was Matt Nagy. Those are the Chiefs coordinators speaking earlier today at One Arrowhead Drive. We'll take a break, come back, wrap up this hour, 580 Sports Talk. Hour number 2 in the books here on 580 Sports Talk. We've got one more hour to spend together. And in the final hour, we'll start with our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Latest injury info for Chiefs Lions, plus K-State and KU availability reports as well, and a playoff roundup from Major League Baseball. We'll talk to Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs. We'll get him to weigh in on the Chiefs' loss in Jacksonville and looking ahead with a preview of Sunday Night Football against the Detroit Lions, as only Mitch can give it, with nuggets of the night that are not to be missed. And we'll play our pal Brendan Dworzinski's conversation with Lora Westling, the head women's basketball coach at Washburn University, recorded earlier this week. That's all coming up on the final hour today here on 580 Sports Talk on WIBW. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday. My name is Dan Lucero. I'm flying the plane today. Thanks for hanging out on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video streaming channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube and WIBW News on Facebook. Thanks for being a part of the program today. Want to hear from you in this final hour. Text line is 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. You can also interact in the comments in the live chat on our YouTube stream. Again, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. And not only is it maybe the most direct way to interact with us, because I just keep it real with y'all. We don't have right now the capacity to text back from the text line. It's something that we've had before. We don't currently have it right now. So you send a good text. We read them all. We don't necessarily read every single one on the show, but we read a good chunk of them because we have smart listeners. We have smart listeners, make good observations, ask good questions, say funny things. And we enjoy your text. We just can't always directly respond to you. We can do that, though, in the live chat on the YouTube. So that is not only the best way to have a back and forth with your host in today's case, on the program, but it's also the best way to interact with each other, to realize that you are not the only one listening to 580 Sports Talk, that there are others, and that others have the same interests as you, namely listening to 580 Sports Talk. And if you've got that in common, then you probably got some other things in common too. So hop in that live chat. We certainly enjoy all the interaction that we get in there throughout the day. So I hope one of you, regular texter, regular YouTube viewer, or just regular listener, wins $2,000 today. I don't have any pull over who wins the $2,000, but we're giving away $2,000 today, just like we did the day before, just like we're going to do tomorrow and every weekday next week as our fall cash contest continues here on 580 WIBW. How do you enter? Real simple. Go to 580WIBW.com, click on the contest link at the top of the page. That will take you to our fall cash contest where you will be prompted to enter a keyword. Every hour during the day, business hours, 8 to 5, he will give you a keyword. And during that hour, you enter the keyword, then you enter your information, and you are entered with a chance to win $2,000. The more keywords you enter, the more chances you have to win. Though if you have not yet entered a keyword today, and this is the first one you were hearing, this is also the last one of the day. So this will be your only chance if this is the only keyword that you put in today. The 5 o'clock hour keyword today for our fall cash contest is give. Give. GIVE, as in, give me $2,000. Give, GIVE. That's your keyword today for this hour. It's good until 6 o'clock. You got until 6 o'clock to go register for today's $2,000 giveaway. And if you don't win today, you can always try again tomorrow. Again, 580WIBW.com to go and enter to win. Final hour of the program today. It's a Thursday, which means we get to enjoy the company of the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. He will join us here in about 15 minutes. We'll get Mitch's perspective on the Chiefs heading into Sunday Night Football against the Detroit Lions. Get some stats, some nuggets that you might not have even conceived could exist. They'll help you sound smarter when you're talking about the game with your friends. That's what we really strive to do. It's a two-part deal that we do when we have Mitch on. Number one is we are endeavoring to tell the story of the Chiefs season week by week, but also we're trying to help you learn a little more, sound a little smarter, be a better informed fan going into every game. That's the fun part of the gig. All that research that Mitch Holthus does. He's not doing that for his health. Doing that because it makes the broadcast really good, because it makes him sound smarter on Sundays on the Chiefs Radio Network. It can make you sound smarter too. So always look forward to our conversation with Mitch. Thanks to our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union, as always, for sponsoring those. He'll join us in about 15 minutes. After Mitch, you'll hear from Lora Westling. She is the women's basketball coach at Washburn University. The Ichabod women picked to finish second by the coaches and third by the media in the preseason MIAA polls, which were released earlier this week. And Brendan Dworzinski caught up with Lora earlier this week for some reaction to that and a little bit of off-season talk, because Washburn basketball starts in less than 1 month. So that conversation is coming up here in a little bit as well. Plus your text, YouTube comments, and all that good stuff. But we start this final hour like we start every hour, every 5 o'clock hour on the program with our 580 Sports Talk headlines. And we began with the injury report for Chiefs and Lions, day 2 of the injury report. Yesterday, everybody on the list for the Chiefs was a full participant. Today, everybody on the list for the Chiefs was a full participant except for one pretty important guy, Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy did not practice today, dealing with shoulder and ankle injuries that hindered him on Monday night in Jacksonville. Remember, he was seemingly good to go all week, practiced in full all week. There was no concern about his injury status for Monday. And then something popped up on the plane. Apparently his ankle flared up while on the plane and he wasn't feeling real good. And he was a late add to the injury list with a questionable designation. And although he played, he was not as impactful as he had been the week before. And we saw him hobble off the field after one play in particular. And after being a full participant on Wednesday, he did not practice today. Hopefully it's just precautionary, but we'll know more based on his Friday designation. Everybody else on the list, a full participant. Alphabetically, that includes Jeffrey Bassa, Nick Bolton, Hollywood Brown, Christian Fulton, Kareem Hunt, Patrick Mahomes, Omar Norman Lott, Charles Menahu, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Jawan Taylor. All those players on the injury report. Mahomes, by the way, listed as dealing with a groin injury this week. But again, full participation for the second straight day for all of those guys, and all are on track to play on Sunday. The Lions are a banged up bunch. They dealt with some injuries. They had some guys dinged that had to leave their win over Cincinnati on Sunday. And it's I don't know that funny is the right word, but it's interesting, noteworthy that the Chiefs are the team on the short week, but the Lions are the team that feel like they're dealing with a short week kind of injury participation list because they are holding guys out of practice. The players who did not practice today for a second consecutive day, starting cornerback Terrion Arnold, a shoulder injury that is probably going to keep him out for Sunday. Safety Kirby Joseph with a knee. Starting tackle Taylor Decker with a shoulder injury. That would be a big loss if he could not go. Linebacker Zach Cunningham with a hamstring injury, also a DNP for a second straight day. And special teamer backup running back Sione Vaki, DNP for a second straight day with a groin injury. Khalif Raymond did not practice on Wednesday. The wide receiver was limited today. Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't practice on Wednesday, but he was a full participant with a wrist injury today. So St. Brown, the number 1 wide receiver for the Lions, on track to play. Brian Branch, stud safety, limited for a second straight day. Also limited today, defensive back Avonte Maddox and offensive lineman Giovanni Manu, both of whom were not on the participation list Wednesday, which means they had injuries crop up at some point during practice today. Were listed as limited. The other full participant on the list today, Alim McNeil, the defensive tackle, he is a full participant for a second straight day. So that is the injury situation for the Lions and the Chiefs heading in to Sunday Night Football. What about the availability reports in the Big 12? These are a thing this year, and some bummer news on the injury reports for both Kansas and Kansas State. K-State hosting TCU on Saturday. The first or initial player availability report released yesterday. K-State ruling out once again safety Colby McAllister, and also Toby Osunsomni will not play. And Joe Klanderman spoke to the media earlier today in Manhattan, the K-State defensive coordinator, saying that it is probably a long-term injury for Osunsomni. They're hoping they can get him back by the end of the season, but it sounds like the kid from Wichita East is going to miss a few games. And that's too bad because I think he has been K-State's best pass rusher, most impactful defensive lineman through the first 6 games. That's a big miss. Travis Bates, Ryan Davis, Chidi Obiizor, Cody Stufflebean, those guys are all going to have to step up in the absence of Osunsomni. Dylan Edwards listed as questionable for Saturday, along with wide receiver Adonis Moise. Cornerback Justice Clemens, who started Saturday against Baylor, is probable. Nothing real noteworthy for TCU on their availability report. As for KU, their trip to Lubbock to take on Texas Tech, a 6:30 kickoff on Saturday. KU is going to be thin again in the defensive backfield. They have ruled out safety Devin Dye. They've also ruled out linebacker Joseph Sipp Jr. Cornerback Saeed Gibbs ruled out with an injury, as well. You already know, of course, Deshaun Hanukkah, the former Hayden Wildcat, underwent season-ending surgery earlier this week, so he is also listed as out. Daniel Highshaw, running back, doubtful for the Jayhawks. Safety Mason Ellis and safety Laquan Robinson, both questionable, and KU could use that depth at that position. Ellis missed last week, and they could really use him back. Texas Tech, one real noteworthy name on their list, linebacker Jacob Rodriguez, who is their best linebacker and playing at an All-American level for the Red Raiders this season, listed as questionable for Saturday's game. Staying with the Big 12 in our 580 Sports Talk headlines, today the conference released preseason honors for women's basketball. That's right, we're just around the corner from hoop season. I would expect we'll see the men's basketball honors tomorrow. The women's basketball preseason coaches poll has TCU as the favorite to win the league. They received 10 of the 16 first-place votes from the coaches. Iowa State, Baylor, and Oklahoma State each received 2 first-place votes and round out the top 4. West Virginia 5th. Then the Sunflower State schools, Kansas, preseason number 6, K-State, preseason number 7. Utah rounds out the top half at number 8. Then Colorado, BYU, Arizona State, and Cincinnati, 9 through 12. The bottom 4, Texas Tech, Arizona, Houston, and UCF. Preseason player of the year in the Big 12, Iowa State center Audie Crooks. Newcomer of the year, Olivia Miles, the former Notre Dame star who transferred to TCU for her final season of eligibility. As for the preseason all-conference team, the lone representative from the Sunflower State teams, Samaya Nichols from KU. She was a unanimous preseason all-league selection, along with Baylor guard Dariana Littlepage-Buggs, BYU's Delaney Gibb, the aforementioned Audie Crooks from Iowa State, Oklahoma State's Staley Hurd, and Olivia Miles, again, from TCU. So those are your preseason honors from the Big 12. One more headline before we get to a playoff roundup. In his 22 previous NBA seasons, the great LeBron James has never missed a season opener. That is where that streak will end. LeBron has already been ruled out for the start of the Lakers season. He has not yet participated in training camp and will be sidelined an additional 3 to 4 weeks. Why? He's got an old man injury, sciatica. The 40-year-old James has yet to participate in a full practice because of the nerve irritation. And should he be sidelined for the full 3 to 4 weeks, he would miss the Lakers' opening night game scheduled for October 21st against the Golden State Warriors. Year 23 for LeBron James. And just a reminder, yeah, he's old. He looks old. Like, I know a lot of you have, this is not like an NBA market. We know that. So we don't talk a ton of NBA. We usually save it for the playoff roundup once the playoffs roll along. Or if I feel like saying something nice about Nikola Jokic, I might pepper it in here and there. But I know how a lot of you feel about LeBron James, and it's not flattering. And I understand not liking LeBron James. I also understand really admiring LeBron James. That's kind of the side of the fence I fall on, that he has been as great as he has been for as long as he has been great, and that he has been as great as we thought he was going to be when he was a junior in high school. It is so hard to live up to the hype. He has lived up to every stitch of it and then some. It is very, very rare that you identify a 16-year-old and say, that guy's got a chance to be the best who ever did it. And then they end up being maybe the best who ever did it. That takes a certain talent, obviously, but it takes a certain mentality. It takes a certain somebody special. And LeBron has always been a special player. And he's managed to do it by largely keeping his nose clean, out of the scandal headlines. Never got caught with a woman who's not his wife, never got caught with drugs, no DUIs, no, nothing like that to be anything less than a role model for the youth. Anyway, I understand if your perspective on LeBron James differs, and that is fine. But I will say this for LeBron. I saw some pictures at the media day, NBA's media day, and he looks old. And I don't think LeBron's ever really looked old before, like the hairline's going, but like he looks old now. And now he's got an old man injury. He's got sciatica. Father time, undefeated. Just another reminder. What do you say we finish off the headlines with a playoff roundup?
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
We have our first participant in the league championship series in Major League Baseball. It is the Toronto Blue Jays, who finished off a 3-1 division series win over the New York Yankees with a 5-2 win last night. 8 pitchers combining to hold down the Yankees lineup over the course of 9 innings. So the Blue Jays are moving on. The Yankees are going home, still ringless since 2009. And I imagine that is music to the ears of many of you. Should they fire Aaron Boone? I kind of feel like it's not Aaron Boone's fault, but Yankees fans really feel like it's Aaron Boone's fault every time they lose. And it might be one of those things you got to appease an angry fan base and just do something different. Because Aaron Boone's been there a while. I think 7 years now, 8 years. And they haven't won a ring. And for the Yankees, you go this long. We're going on 16 years without a championship. It's a long time, man. That's unforgivably long in that organization. So I bet they make a change this offseason. I think they're going to have to. Anyway, all the other series were in elimination spots last night, but none of those series, other than the Yankees series, concluded. That's because, as we mentioned on yesterday's show, Detroit beat Seattle 9-3 to tie that series at 2 games apiece. Chicago scored 4 in the first, held on for a 4-3 win over Milwaukee. That series is 2-1 Brewers. Game 4 of that series tonight in Chicago. How about ex-Royal Brad Keller slamming the door in the 8th and the 9th inning? He couldn't throw a strike 2 years ago, and now he's closing games for a playoff team in 2025. Gotta love baseball. Philadelphia also avoided elimination last night at Dodger Stadium. The Phillies defeating the Dodgers 8-2. Game 4 of that series is underway. They're in the bottom of the first in LA. The Dodgers and Phillies are scoreless. In fact, that game is now headed to the 2nd inning. Cubs Brewers late tonight, 8:08 Central Time, first pitch. That's your playoff roundup. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, here on 580 Sports Talk. 526 on 580 Sports Talk. We are pleased to be joined at this time, as we are every Thursday at this time on the program, by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, whose appearances on 580 Sports Talk are brought to us by Hy-Vee, your official tailgate headquarters for Kansas City Chiefs football, and by Azura Credit Union. Contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCall, or Naseem Khan about the credit union advantage for your next home loan. Mitch, it's a bit of a foreign feeling for the Chiefs team, particularly after last season where they went 12-0 in one-score games, including the AFC Championship game, to feel like one got away. But that sure seems to be the prevailing emotion from the Chiefs following that 31-28 loss to Jacksonville. Not just frustration with the loss, but frustration in a game that should have, in their minds, been won.
Well, there were pluses and minuses in all three phases. It's just that the minuses ended up outweighing the pluses, kind of like my tax return. The offensively, to put up just south of 500 yards was awesome. But then Nags even mentioned it today in the news conference, and we were talking about it in a private conversation, that possession 4 and possession 5 were 3 and out. And that's where the Chiefs could have seized the game and back-to-back possessions to end the second quarter and start the third quarter. And then the next possession was the 99-yard pick 6. So as good as the numbers were, those 3 possessions were enough to sway it the other way. Same with defense. There were a lot of good things in that game, 3 sacks, 2 takeaways, but then to not be able to hold leads throughout the entire game, and a big, gigantic 3rd and 15 for a DPI, and the route was running 11 yards, and that was when the Chiefs were ahead 14-0. So, and then special teams, you get Matt Ariza's best game as a Chief, and then you have the 4 second-half special teams penalties, incredible return, wiped out on a holding call, the kick out of bounds, illegal block, then another hold and a kick return, and that's enough to skew it the other way, and Jacksonville gets the win. By the way, before I get too carried away here, I do want to mention I work really closely with Lucas Boyd, who's the former Seaman soccer star, one of the top soccer players in Seaman history, and he's in the mini sub with me, just grinding away. And then he married a Seaman girl, Cass Henry, who was one of the top guards. I don't know if you did her games, but I don't know if they're retired number 4 or not. But anyway, Lucas and Cass are awesome people, and I get to work side by side with him. He's a really talented guy. If you see stuff on the franchise, and a lot of the stuff we pump out on our different sites, he's done a lot of it. So he's a wildly talented dude.
We always love to hear about locals doing great stuff. Seaman football against Shawnee Heights tomorrow night right here on 580 WIBW, our 580 Preds game of the week. Thanks for the synergy, Mitch. I appreciate that. Anyhow,
at Seaman Stadium or at Shawnee Heights?
Don Pierce Field at Seaman Stadium.
I think Lucas has got a statue out there by the soccer field. I'm not sure.
I'll get a picture.
I might be wrong.
I'll get a picture of it if it's there. Anyway, all right. Mitch, the underlying theme, and Patrick Mahomes said this repeatedly, not just post-game, but he mentioned it repeatedly in his press availability yesterday, talking about making winning plays. Now, if it was as easy to do as it was to say, then a coach would have a binder full of winning plays and his team would never lose. But when it comes down to the Chiefs not having made some of those winning plays in the first 5 weeks of the season, what are the things that this team is needing to pay a little bit more attention to get back to the position where they can make those winning plays, whether it's get the third down stop and get Mahomes and company more time to either possess the ball and go win the game or run out the clock, or the offense getting a game-killing first down or game-killing touchdown? What are the attention to detail things that this team has to get back to for that?
Well, I can give you probably 1 or 2 in every phase. Offensively, one thing that's very surprising is the fact that, the Chiefs are best in the league at 12-minute drives. 12 5-minute drives. But the Chiefs are last in the NFL in only getting 6 points off first possessions of the game. They're last. So you always hear about getting off to a fast start. Well, the drive they had at the end of the game, how about starting that? Because the Lions are under Dan Campbell are 27-5 on scoring first. And so it'd be nice to get the Chiefs to score first in this game, but only 6 points. I didn't know that until I started to scuba dive into the Chiefs. Like, whoa, is this right? No touchdowns in their first offensive possession. So there's one. that I would say comes to mind offensively. Defensively, you alluded to it, getting off the field on third down. Even though their third down percentage is 13th in the league, which isn't terrible, it's when you look at what they've done with 3rd and 6 or more, they're near one of the bottom third of the league. And then still middle of the pack in red zone touchdown percentage allowed in the red zone. So they've got to get off the field when they get a chance. I mean, 3rd and 15 to give up a DPI when the Jaguar route runner was at 11 yards. I mean, just tackle the dude. Get off the field. It's 14-0. If the Jags punt, the Chiefs are moving the ball. They're going to go up either 17-0 or 21-0, and that game's entirely different. And I'd say offensively, just avoid, I'm going to go back to offense, so avoid those lulls, the gaps of like possession 4 and possession 5, particularly as strategic as those are. When you win the toss, you get those back-to-back possessions if you defer. And to blank on both of those, that leads to a loss. That'll be a loss in the Lions game Sunday night. The margin is just that tight, especially against this Lions team. And then it's special teams, create field position. You're losing field position with all these special teams penalties. And I look at the Lions, part of their success is the fact that they lead the NFL in average starting field position. Well, if you flip that on them, it's enough. Again, these two teams are so good and the margin is so slight, that can flip a game one way or the other.
Mitch Holthus is our guest, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, joining us a courtesy of our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union here on 580 Sports Talk. The 2-3 record obscures some of the good things that are happening with this Chiefs team, particularly on offense. I said earlier on today's show, I think Patrick Mahomes has played the last 3 weeks at an MVP level. He looks very dialed in, very comfortable in the offense, very comfortable with his wide receivers. You spoke to one of them, Hollywood Brown, earlier in the week, talking about some things with this offense that are really working, really starting to hum in a way that we haven't seen for the Chiefs in a while.
Well, let's go first things first. The offensive line is really playing at a high level. I thought that was the best game by an offensive line of the Chiefs since Super Bowl 57, which was the 0-sack game against the Eagles in Glendale. I thought the O-line played great. And there wasn't the holding penalties. They didn't kill drives. I mean, they were blowing open holes and giving Pat time. He had some of the most time to throw in the last several years. And yet, the rest of the offense, that leads to, I don't care if it's Seaman and Shawnee Heights tomorrow night, the best offensive line is going to win that game. And then, but it opens up the other guys. And for Hollywood Brown now, just think about Hollywood's career. It's like you get start, then stop. Then you've got a flat tire. You finally get the car fixed. You got the car battery, a brand new car battery and a brand new set of tires. And then you hit, some kind of nail on the road. And you're like, really? Like, I just got back on the field. Well, now Hollywood is getting into the flow of things. And when you had him and Tyquan Thornton and Xavier Worthy, and here comes Rashee Rice, and then Brashard Smith, I mean, you've got explosive dudes running all over the field. But I asked Hollywood about how about getting into the flow now, and he's as happy as can be.
You being in the flow, 40 targets, 26 catches, you being in the flow and the offense starting to cook. What's going on?
Oh, man, we're just trying to get on the same page, getting guys going early, staying within the game, playing for each other, playing with energy. Coach been preaching it all week, play with energy, and that's, what we're trying to bring.
And attacking Detroit, what's going to be the key there?
Taking what they give us, playing to our strengths, no penalties, not putting ourselves in a hole, and just, doing us and having fun.
So Hollywood's back here, and yes, he's having fun, and even being the fourth or maybe fifth option through the rest of the year, if everybody stays healthy, that might be the best fourth or fifth option in the NFL. And so everybody knows, I said the school bus is pulling up to the Seaman track, and the 4x100 meter relay is getting ready to run, in the regionals here. That's what it feels like. And so there's some anticipation, and that's why if the Chiefs could win this game, it'll feel more like 4-2 than 3-3 with Rashee Rice coming on stage soon.
It's not going to be an easy one because the Detroit Lions are really good. They might be the hottest team in the NFL. They've ripped off 4 straight wins after a week 1 loss, and they've done it scoring over 34 points in each of their last 4 games. They're not without their flaws and foibles, and they are going to come in a little bit banged up, it seems, following their win over Cincinnati on Sunday. but this is perhaps the best team the Chiefs are going to play in the regular season. What about this matchup in particular stands out as most likely to define whether or not the Chiefs can even up their record at Arrowhead?
Well, I'll start. Even though the Lions are firepower, and I've got your stat of the night. We can save that to the end. I got an awesome nugget for you. But let's start where you asked me, where do the Chiefs win this game? And it's going to be, and you heard me say the word attack with Hollywood in that discussion. The Chiefs have to attack these guys. That means, though, you have got to slow down Aiden Hutchinson and his fellow Lion mates. Hutchinson is back. You can argue, and we got Eagles fans out there, they're going to be wailing and gnashing of teeth. If Hutchinson doesn't get hurt last year and the Lions don't get decimated by defensive injuries, keep in mind, during the postseason, or late in the year, they gave up 31, the Lions, 48-34, and then they had Washington drop 45 on them in the AFC divisional game. But they had so many injuries on defense. Now, Hutchinson is crushing it. In fact, he's had 4 state games of the sack. No Lions player has ever had 5 straight with the sack. But when you look at his pressures, he's near the top of the league with 30 pressures. In fact, he's second in the league with his 30 pressures. And so this is a team, 16 sacks, second to Denver's 21. Their front 7 can just keep shoving on you. But if you get a click of time, I keep telling you guys, a click or click and a half allows you to attack a team that has been decimated at the cornerback position. They're down. They have 4 of their top corners hurt, and including former K-State corner DJ Reed. He's out. Dorsey just went on IL. You can go right down the line with these guys, and so you have a shot to get nothing. Terrion Arnold got hurt. Ennis Rakestraw got hurt. So they're actually kind of spackling something together here in the secondary. Now they got Kirby Joseph. He's got 20 interceptions in his first 4 years. That hasn't happened in almost a quarter century with Ed Reed as a safety with that many interceptions early in the career. But still, give Pat a bit of time. Goes back to the offensive line. If you do attack these guys, because it's probably going to take 30 or more to beat these guys because of the offensive prowess of the Lions.
Speaking of that offensive prowess, Chiefs are well aware how good Jared Goff is. He's famously never lost to the Chiefs, not a huge sample size, but all the same. And they have 3 different wide receivers over 200 receiving yards this season. They've got a 1-2 punch in the backfield, one of the best offensive lines typically in the league. It's an awesome offense, and they're doing major damage to the scoreboard. Slowing them down is probably more realistic than stopping them altogether. What do you do to slow them down?
Well, they have no weakness. You alluded to it. And Goff, here's one of your nuggets of the night. He is the only quarterback that Mahomes has faced multiple times that Mahomes has never beaten. The only one, Jared Goff. That's been twice. But still, it's a noteworthy note. That makes sense. Goff's been awesome. Completion percentage, number 1, ridiculous at almost 76%. 12 touchdown passes. They got the 2-headed running monster, David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. You put those 2 together, they got 635 combined yards. That's 135 more than Jonathan Taylor, who leads the league, having the great start to his career this year, I should say, with the Colts. Amon-Ra St. Brown is number 1 in the league. 25 of his 35 catches are first downs, 6 touchdowns. That's the best in the league. Then they get Sam Laporta rolling. They haven't even got Jamison Williams cooking yet, and then they got the rookie Isaac Tesla out of Arkansas. So it's right. And the offensive line you mentioned, Penei Sewell, who might be the best tackle in the league. So they got it all going on. What do you have to do, as you mentioned, slow them down? Now, there's some, though. It's a little bit of a but here with these guys, because here's what does not make sense. When you look at them offensively, and as good as they are, they have struggled. They're only 19th on third down conversions, and they're not that great in the red zone. I guess they're okay in the red zone, but they're not third down conversions. You've got to win first down with some teams, and you can't. It's just not an option, and that means somehow mitigating the runs. First and second down are key. This is like when you're playing the high-powered Peyton Manning offenses back in the day. You have got to somehow minimize first down and second down production with these guys, or they could run up a 40-burger on you.
All right, Mitch Holthus, voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. You promised me a big stat of the night here to wind things down. Lay it on us.
The Lions last year led the league in scoring, and it was high. You're looking at 34 points a game. They've had 4 straight games of 34-plus points. That's a Lions record. But here's the big one. If they stay at this pace they're at right now, they will have led the league back-to-back years with 33-plus points as their scoring average. That has not happened since the 1941 and 42 Chicago Bears. And is that Sid Luckman? I don't know.
I think that might be.
Dude, we're going back to World War II at the beginning of what the Lions have been put up in back-to-back years as far as scoring. They've won 19 of the last 22 games and 31 of the last 39. I'll say this again. If they didn't have the injuries on defense, we would have been playing them in Super Bowl 59 and not the Eagles.
Yeah, that was Sid Luckman in the T formation there, those early 40s Bears team. They invented something that had never before been seen called man in motion. That's how far back we have to go.
Freak out. What is this even legal?
That's not allowed. Throw a flag.
Yeah, Hank Nelson was at those games. He lives in Topeka now, but I think he went to Soldier Field for the 42 Bears, putting up like 40 points a game. So, yeah, I mean, there's your stat. Like, this tells you how historic the Lions offense is right now.
Tough task for the Chiefs, but they played and won a lot of big games these last handful of years. They got another big one on Sunday night. Mitch Holthus will have the call on the Chiefs Radio Network. He is the voice of the Chiefs, and he joins us courtesy of Hy-Vee and Azuric Credit Union. Hy-Vee is your official tailgate headquarters for Kansas City Chiefs football, and you can contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCullough, and Asim Khan at Azuric Credit Union about the credit union advantage for your next home loan. Mitch, have a great call Sunday night. We'll talk to you again next Thursday.
Look for the monuments at Siemens Stadium tomorrow night for Lucas Boyd at soccer and Cass Henry for basketball. I think they're still up there. Just let me know.
I'll get there early so I can make sure I give myself time to look. Thanks again, Mitch.
Okay.
That is Mitch Holthus. We'll take a break, come back. He'll hear from Washburn women's basketball coach Lora Westling next on 580 Sports Talk. .546 on 580 Sports Talk. Our thanks again to Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, for joining us. Earlier in the program, if you missed it, it was in the 3 o'clock hour today. We heard our pal, our co-host, voice of the Ichabods, Brendan Dworzinski, have a chat with Brett Ballard, the head coach of the Washburn men's basketball team, picked to finish at the top of the MIAA by the coaches and the media. The coaches and media are also high on Lora Westling's Washburn women. The coaches picked them to finish second in the league, while the media picked them third. And Brendan had a chance to sit down with Lora earlier this week as well. Here's that conversation.
Now joined by the head coach of Washburn women's basketball, Lora Westling. And coach, let's just jump into the news from earlier this week. Preseason polls come out for MIAA basketball. The coaches picked you guys second in the league. The media picks you third. Those media guys, obviously, always there's a problem with them. I know coaches don't love to let the rat poison stuff in. And hey, it's about focus on us, focus on the games. But I have to imagine for you and for the women on this team, that's got to feel pretty good to get respect like that from your peers going into the year.
Well, I think it means that we're at least heading in the right direction. I think that's one thing we've asked of these players who have done their part and stuck around is we want them to see that return on investment. And if we returned all 5 starters and didn't get picked higher, then that would be a problem. So I think, like you said, we know it doesn't mean we're going to play on the hardwood, but it is nice to know that people know you're coming.
How special is that to have all 5 starters back? I mean, it's special in the sense that it just doesn't happen very often, period, especially not in the modern transfer portal era of college athletics. But to have your whole group back of starters and to have it be this group in particular, can you quantify how important that is for this program?
No, I think anytime, like you said, now when it's so common to leave or transfer, when you have those players that are in for 4 years, you feel like, they're only 20, 21, 22. So you've been a part of their life for about 20% of it. And so just, I feel very protective of them. I feel a different level of proud of them, not just for what they've done on the floor, but who they are. Bari and Gabby have been here. Naya's been here for 3 years, and Peyton I've been recruiting since high school. So those players are very special to our program. They're very special to me personally. And not just them. We've got a whole group. Nia and Maddie have been here for 3 years. Brooke is all, and these players are invested in, and I think that's what makes our culture what it has become and what we're most proud of.
Lora Westling is our guest, head coach of Washburn women's basketball. To that point, you've got all these players who've been in the program or you've had these relationships with for so long. You also bring in a number of transfers this year and freshmen as well. But the transfers in particular, I think it can be so hard to get them ingratiated with a culture. Mm-hmm. They've been with a different culture, with a different team, with different expectations before. So when you're going out and you're looking for Kylan and for everybody else who's coming in, how difficult is it to get those players meshed in with the culture as quickly as you need them to be?
Yeah, I think we had to be really, really particular and not, we kind of told our staff, we can't really let anything go. We need these very specific holes filled and we need them filled with great people that are going to fit in. And I think that can be really daunting when you see the 3,000 names in the portal and you're going to JUCO Nationals and all those things. But like I said, credit to my staff because we found with Kellen, dynamic point guard who's high level competitor. We found Brittany who can do some great things at the post and add more depth there. So it's not so much pressure on Bari. Kylan is just tough. She brings that kind of utility player. And then Kennedy, our freshman out of Wichita, is going to be really special, I think, as she grows here. So our 4 new players are kind of hopefully exactly what we needed and have fit right in, just because of the people they are.
Speaking of your staff, a little more turnover this year with Coach Pereira moving on and Coach Robin Stahl joining you guys. What really stood out to you about Coach Stahl and what she can bring to this program?
I mean, as excited we are about the recruit, she might be one of the recruits we're most excited about. To have a player or to have a woman who has won, she was a decorated Division II player. She can play, and our kids know that when they see her in practice. She has experience with the league, and both played and worked for a legend in our profession and Coach Slifer, and then got away and experienced a different level. So she understands it doesn't take for granted kind of what we have here at Washburn, and beyond that, she's just a workhorse. She'll step up, she'll do anything, she'll do it the best she can, and obviously I feel just as proud of Coach Dalton. So together these two, I really, we miss Matt. Matt's doing great. He's a high school AD out in Washington, but this staff is crushing it.
Last couple of questions for Lora Westling, head coach of Washburn women's basketball. Through off-season workouts, from what you've gotten to see so far during the school year, what is the one standout thing maybe you weren't expecting that has really popped about this group?
I shouldn't say I'm surprised, but it's been a lot of fun just how much they like to work. I mean, they don't complain. They really, everything from they care about beating their mile times, to they care about getting in for film. They care about these things. I think in the past we've been trying to tell them how important it is, and this group gets it. So it's not surprising. We've hoped for that, but they've really brought that to fruition. And they're funny, Brendan. I hate to admit that. I usually don't give them that credit, but they're funny people. They're a blast to be around, and I'm looking forward just to traveling and hanging out with them this year.
All right, last thing for you. Not that you have a lot of time away from basketball during the course of 12 months of the year. When you have gotten away with it, how was your summer? How was the off season?
Yeah, summer was good. Like all I can think of is recruiting events right now, but summer was great. We were. It's nice to kind of have that time where you're not having stress dreams about practice and games and film. Got to do a lot of fun things with the family, and took a little long weekend out to Oregon that we really enjoyed. Got back to Cheyenne for Frontier Day, so it's been great. But we love and not just me, but my family. We love the grind of season and all the rituals that come with that, and the people we get to see more often. And so it's certainly good to be back.
Just a few weeks away now from the start of the college basketball season. Coach, we appreciate the time.
Thanks, Brendan. Look forward to seeing you more soon.
That is Lora Westling, head coach of the Washburn Ichabod women. We'll take one last time out, come back with a final word, wrap up this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Final word time here on 580 Sports Talk as we wrap up this Thursday edition of the program. Final word for me is I believe unreservedly in the Kansas City Chiefs offense. I haven't felt about the Chiefs offensively the way I do right now since at least 2022 and maybe even before that, where it really does feel the way Patrick Mahomes is playing, the way this offensive line is playing, the way that there are multiple reliable weapons at wide receiver before Rashee Rice's return after this week. And I feel like I'm watching an offense that can score whenever it wants against whoever it wants. As long as they stay away from sloppy penalties. And look, no team avoids them always. No team scores 100% of the time that they have the ball. But those Chiefs teams in the early part of the Mahomes era with prime Kelsey, prime Tyreek Hill, you felt like they were going to score whenever they had the ball. It was a surprise when they didn't. And it's been a long time since I felt that way about a Chiefs offense. And again, that was historic, what we saw the early years of the Mahomes era. It was not only a different level of talent on offense as far as the skill position goes, but it was a different game. Like football is contested on kind of different terms now. The way defenses line up, it's different now than it was in 2018, 2019, 2020. All that being said, this is as close as I felt to feeling like Mahomes is going to take the Chiefs down the field and they're going to get points. Whenever they want to get points, they can get points. So I believe in the offense, and I'd like to see Andy Reid believe in this offense by being more aggressive on fourth down. I know he's going to be aggressive on fourth down against the Lions because the Lions are aggressive on fourth down because the Lions are really good. Everybody knows that. But I want to see Reid be aggressive against the teams that he thinks the Chiefs are better than. I don't mind him trusting the defense. I think the defense will play better. I think they've got some better days ahead of them. Typical of a Spags defense to start a little slow and pick up steam as the season goes along. But I want to see Andy Reid try and squelch teams with this offense, because it would be a darn shame if he didn't maximize the year that Patrick Mahomes looks like he's going to have. Because right now, I'm going to tell you this, I think he's playing like an MVP. That's going to do it for 580 Sports Talk today. Tomorrow on the program, we'll talk to our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick. We'll do our full preview of the football weekend to come on a Red Friday, including our predictions, big Chief picks for the Chiefs and the Lions, our keys to the game. We'll break down K-State and KU's games from Saturday as well. There's Thursday night football tonight coming up, Highland Park and Atchison. We got some overtime before that. This is 580 Sports Talk. Good night.